Welcome. In this live of Awakening with Dr. C, we are going to be talking about the construct of identity and why it is so fundamentally important to assess or to tweak. I call it High AM having identity modules. So you have installations of a personality that are given to you from your genetic makeup at birth and even before your birth. So this is your lineage of your family. And then you are raised in a culture and an environment that will facilitate your awakening experience, but may actually not actually expand you beyond the awakening of this life. Meaning you may have come in a very awakened family, somebody who has mastery over their emotions, over their experiences, and they help you to see yourself as a multidimensional being. They help you to connect yourself as perhaps a light worker or starseed, if that's your lineage. And so you have this experience, hi Mama 82, of being with a family that helps you to connect with your lineage beyond this lifetime. And many of you are lucky if you have that experience, because there are many younger souls that are awakening now than we've ever had before. But perhaps you didn't come from a nurturing environment like that, and you've had to awaken through a dark night of the soul, or you've had to experience an expansion of consciousness through something like a twin flame relationship, or some upheaval in your life that caused an immense amount of pain or suffering, and you started asking questions, and your awakening experience transpired as a result of that. So no matter what your path, you will have an identity module inside of you. And that identity module is often given to you and reinforced through subconscious patterns and unconscious wounds and reactions. So when you are a child, you are literally raised on how to speak in the world, how to be in the world. You learn what your name is. You learn what your life path is. You are selected for schools or certain experiences and certain friend environments based on where your parents have raised you, what country you live in, what language you speak. All of this fabric of culture gives you a sense of belonging, gives you a sense of who I am. And when you're early in the awakening process and you are not cognizant of this, you don't know anything outside of that identity that was given to you. You don't ever question that. You don't ever even necessarily plan a life for yourself. In fact, you might be stuck in some circumstances that you didn't necessarily agree to sign up for. Not everybody, of course, but some people are like, how did I get here? Why did I incarnate in the family that, does this and that? And why does my life look like this? And you might feel like you're trapped in a circumstance because of the circumstances that were imposed upon you. And so what happens is that when you start to awaken, you start to jiggle your identity module inside of you. And you start to ask yourself, is this really all that I am? Is this really all that I'm meant to become? When you step into the path of expansion, by the way, I have a new podcast on Spotify. The link is in my bio at the very bottom. You can be like one of the first subscribers, one of the first 15. I'm up to like 12 subscribers now. And so I talk about topics like this if you just want to pop into the live, but you want to listen more. I'm in a meditative lecture style, podcast style. Link in the bio, Awakening by Dr. C. And the latest one, Points of Awareness, talks about this discovery process. When you're early in the awakening journey, how your point of awareness, your fixation is solely on your life, crystallize in your body and your life, and your awareness of what you want and how you're navigating through your day in a humanoid form. But as you expand into a multidimensional quantum shifting being, you actually expand into different points of awareness that extend beyond this life. It could be a future timeline where you receive downloads from another version of yourself. It could be a mystical experience where you interface with cosmic beings, your soul family, and other worlds. There's lots of different options, but your awareness expands beyond the point of where you're housed. So this is a physical body, right? Everybody's aware of that. This is a housing unit. You can think of it like a housing unit. This is a vehicle like we drive cars. If you are in a country where you drive a car, you have a vehicle. What's unique about our lives is that we believe, in a materialist reductionist society at least, we believe that this is the only vehicle we'll ever have. And for many people, that is true, right? So take care of it and get your maintenance done, get your oil changed, and eat healthy food. It's very important. And so as a result, when we're early in the journey, our identity is very much centered in our vehicle. And when our worth, our value, for some of you, this is a really big deal. Your value as a human being is dictated by your attractiveness, is dictated by whether or not the opposite sex, if you're heteronormative, and not everybody is, so let's make room for everybody here, but let's just say your sense of value is explicitly and implicitly tied to whether or not the person or the people that you want you. And what this looks like is that your attachment to the body can be malformed, and that if you have a blemish, if you have what you perceive as extra weight, if you're in a weight-conscious society, hi Nana, if you have markings or a skin tone that the collective that you're existing in perceives not to be very flattering by the collective beauty standards that people have agreed on, you are going to feel in your identity that something's wrong with you, because your self-worth is being driven by people's attraction to you, because you over-identify with the body. This is going to cause you a lot of pain and suffering until you break out of that, which is a beautiful part of the awakening journey. When you do get to break out of that, you break out of these prisons and these loops in your mind. But before that happens, you don't have any awareness that there's another way of living, that you can be completely comfortable in your body, no matter the form, no matter the color, no matter the size, no matter the gender. You actually are who you are, in a reflection of understanding that this is a vehicle that doesn't drive your self-worth. But when your identity at the beginning parts of the journey is so tied to it, you experience a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. And you don't understand why this emotional experience weighs on you so much. You don't know how to fix it. So part of the spiritual awakening journey is helping you to resolve those wounds inside of you, but it doesn't stop there. So as you start to progress through the journey, you start to realize that you are not your body. And most importantly, that your consciousness is not limited to this life. Now, some of you have gotten here, you know what I'm talking about, but others haven't. And you might struggle with this a little bit, because if all you've ever known is literally this world, then how could you exist beyond this world, especially if you believe, like most materialist reductionists do. I used to be a scientist, firmly entrenched in these beliefs, by the way, that when your brain dies, you cease to exist. When your body dies, you cease to exist. Most people believe that. We're now starting to understand that maybe that's not exactly the whole story, but ascended masters and other religions have known this for eons. They've been trying to tell us about it. But for those of us on the Western side of the world and Western science, we haven't really been listening. And that's okay. It's part of our awakening experience too. So as you begin to expand beyond the awareness of this life, what's going to happen is that you lose the attachment to the experience that once bound you. So early on in the awakening journey, everything is a culmination of the life that was given to you. And before you're really awake, you don't know how to manifest something differently for yourself, which is why you feel stuck and trapped. And Lil, Cricket, OT, this is an important point. We've been purposefully lied to as a society too. In some cases, I believe that this is true, that there is a hiding of the truth of the nature of humans and the miracles that we actually are. And the why this happens is interesting. I don't feel that in every dimension it's like this, but for many people in many materialist reductionist collectives, they are entrenched with the view that ordinary humans are all that exist and all that will exist. And if you have any extraordinary experiences, it must mean that you're crazy or something's wrong with you or you have a brain tumor. And so there are systems that are set up and reinforced, they're self-reinforcing, that help you to stay in the lane that you were born into. This is the entire point of this live, is actually revealing that you're in a lane. For those of you who need this, for some of you, you already know this. And so when you're in a lane that has been given to you, it's like you're born into a family that treats you terribly and Let's just say, for example, this is just one out of many. And your relationships, as a result, your love maps that are installed here, the love that you accept, the love that you prefer, the love that you know, let's say is traumatic love or toxic love. So you go out into the world as an adult and you start to build a life of your own, only to repeat the patterns from childhood, the love that echoes from what you used to know from an absent father or an abusive mother or something that was hard for you, right? Not everybody comes from horrible upbringings. Let's honor that there are multiple experiences, but we talk about the painful ones because these are often the ones that help us to understand these dynamics and give us a contrast experience to be able to apply in other situations. And so when you're coming from a world like that, you're just a series of reactions and karmic loops and cycles and preferences because you have been installed with identity modules that from birth have been conditioned and programmed to believe that all the love that you should ever know and accept is broken love in this example. So as a result, you go out into the world and you build a life of your own only to find that you're still in situations that you're not being treated as you deserve. These are karmic loops. These are invitations to transcendence. If you know how to work with them, this is what I help my one-on-one coaching clients with. You can check the link in the bio for that. When you understand that it's an invitation to transcend, you then can understand that it's almost like, I like to think of it like a consciousness puzzle. If you have always been in disempowering situations, not making enough money, struggles in love, worried and insecure about the wealth that you do have, kind of obsessive about it, it's like you feel like it's never safe. You're never safe. People don't love you for you, but you don't show them you just show them the displays. You show them the superficial because you're like, see, I'm worth something. Look at this pretty life that I can build. Meanwhile, you don't actually open your heart ever. And you wonder why you feel disconnected. You wonder why your relationships are superficial. It all looks great on paper, but yet you have this expansive chasm, a gaping hole in your heart that you're trying to figure out how to genuinely connect with another human being, and you don't know how to do that. This applies to you too. So when you have these karmic loops inside your identity modules, when you understand that it's an invitation for transcendence, you understand that the life that you're building is a reflection of what's in. 80% of the time, I would say 20% of the time it's a little different, but we'll get into that later. And you understand that you have a say as a creator, your identity shifts in that moment. That when you step into a creator role, and not just as an entrepreneur, not just as a mother or a father, or as a student embarking on an academic career, because those are all creator roles. Like you decide, you're like, I'm going to take my ship and I'm going to navigate to this amazing land, this amazing opportunity. I'm going to make an amazing life. But then as you start to literally crystallize it and bring it into the material world, you notice that there are error codes being reflected back at you, that things are not quite right. It's like you're looking in the mirror, expecting to see this reflection, and the mirror is showing you something else. The awakening process is going to show you that you are not this humanoid being entirely. Yes, you are in that vehicle, you are in that form, but there is another part of you. And when you step into a creator role, an identity module loads inside of you that's new for many of you. This is the first experience of like an ego death, an ego dissolution, where you realize, holy, I'm more than what I thought I was. I don't entirely know how to describe it. I might not actually look like this being in the mirror, but there's another part of me that exists in awareness and scope. Again, this is my Points of Awareness latest episode on podcast or on Spotify. Link is in the bio at the very bottom, where I walk you through an exercise to do exactly this. And so you realize that you are more than the person that you were raised in small town Ohio to be. That your life path direction can be more if you deviate, if you step outside of the lane. And at some point on the awakening, you start to expand into multidimensionality and quantum shifting. And this is what my EC by Dr. C private playlist is about. Also, the link is in the bio for that, where we talk about how to upgrade your thought modules to shift into a quantum existence in the flesh, not just in meditation, but literally. traversing worlds. And when you shift into that mindset, you then take the reins of you in this life and you expand it into, no matter what this world looks like, this reflection, I know that I have options. And that's where your power is. No matter what is happening in front of you, you have options. But many people actually still get stuck in the belief that there's one world, that you have no control over it. There's, like somebody said in the chat, that there's somebody lying to us, and that in some cases there is an elite group, an oppressor, like a prisoner guard, and you're the prisoner. You get stuck in these loops. You notice how, this is so interesting to me, you notice how humans have been oppressed in some form or fashion since our human history started? There's always an emperor. There's always an evil monarch. There's always a corrupted government. There's always an oppressor. How is that possible? How do we keep creating these loops over and over and over again? It's like almost as though we're born into a body, we're born into a life, we're born into a lane, and then we grow up not ever realizing that in the swimming pool there are multiple lanes that we can swim in. But we're like, well, I was born into this lane. Have you seen those politicians are just evil, they're corrupt. Can you believe what they're doing? You're just swimming along, right? You're just observing the lane. But when you are a powerful manifestor quantum shifter, you have the ability to switch lanes. Do you take it? It's an important question. Because when you open up to multidimensional expansion of awareness, if you're actually a manifesting being, and some of you are manifestors, and you know that you're manifestors, right? And this is the craziest thing, to me at least. When we step into a manifesting role, how is it that we can be selective manifestors? We can manifest wealth for ourselves. We can manifest love for ourselves, but we can't manifest sovereignty, freedom as human beings, escape from the matrix, if that's what your world is. Not all worlds are like that. Whether or not there's even multi-planes of existence. And I talk about this more in my EC by Dr. C playlist, private playlist. Link is in the bio. You have to sign up for it. It's $10 a month, but you get quantum meditations delivered to your inbox to help you shift into this next level of thinking, the next level of being human, to be on the leading line of quantum shifters in humanity. And we're not the only ones. There are many of us out there, but it's still new. It's still new. It's part of the movement of what I believe is the transcendence of human consciousness, and really separating ourselves from the over-identification with one life, one body, one outcome, one world that we may or may not have been born into a caste system, whether or not we recognize it. And so when you expand truly as a multidimensional being, how is it that your life is still repeating on a loop? How is it that you can manifest love or wealth for yourself, but still fear 5G towers? I'm going to get myself disconnected here. It's true though. It's like, I'm a powerful manifester. By God, I'm going to manifest billions of dollars for myself, which I have not done. I'm going to manifest the love of my life. Except, have you seen those evil elites? What are they doing over there? Those 5G towers. Oh my God, they make me sick every time I drive past them. You're not a manifester. If you're scared of that, I just personally have to push back and say that's not manifesting. That's disempowerment dressed up as pretend sovereignty, okay? That's disempowerment dressed up as pretend sovereignty. To be a sovereign being, a true sovereign being, is to recognize that you have options. Thank you. You have options, but how do you exercise those options? It's like realizing that you have bought into a stock, right? And you're trying to exercise your options, but nobody's told you. Nobody's told you that you have options. You kind of have to figure it out. And maybe it's because the corporation is trying to be greedy and they're trying to keep it from you. Who knows, right? But when you realize that you have options, when you realize that you are a powerful creator, that you are a manifester, then you realize that you're not limited. And when you realize that the scarcity consciousness that's holding you in three-dimensional constructs, that is ruling your existence and fueling you in a swimming pool thinking that there's only one lane of existence, right? Only one lifeline, and you're swimming along. Yeah, I'm manifesting, and you're afraid that you're not actually free. You can get out of the pool when you are a quantum shifter manifester. This is my belief. Thank you, Lightheart. Thank you. You can shift lanes, and this is what quantum shifting is. But it starts with identity. It starts with understanding your identity modules. And this is tough work if you're new at it. If you're more advanced at it, it gets easier. But the first little bits of it are like really challenging, because let's say you're starting from completely an unconscious being. And if you need help with this, I recommend listening to my Awakening podcast, where I walk you through the thought structures of how to do some of this thinking, because you have to rebuild how you're thinking about yourself and how you're thinking about the world. And I walk you through how I think about things to help expand your mind. It's free. It's a Spotify playlist. Link is at the bottom. And so what happens is that when you're working with your identity modules, you have to ask, who was I born into? What life? What humanoid existence was I born into? And you find your patterns. Do you have attachment style issues? Do you have insecure attachment? Hi, Maria. Do you have avoidant attachment, fearful avoidant? Are you anxious, preoccupied? This is an indication that you're working with toxic love maps. To me, as somebody who is also a relationship coach for, I work with different levels of people on their awakening journey. And some people are just working with their mind and their relationships. They're very early in the awakening process. They haven't gotten to the spiritual esoteric. So we work at the level that they're at. And so when you are working with the mind, what you're going to find is that there are patterns of avoidant attachment style that's going to stick you with somebody who's anxiously attached. This is a cosmic mirror and your three-dimensional reality to help you learn how to transcend. And when you break the mold of the patterns, you actually shift your world. Whether or not you're aware that you're a manifester, you do this. Because when you really heal those wounds, you shift the magnetism in the partner that you're attracted with. And the craziest thing is when you actually really close the wound, you literally no longer vibrate with the same frequency that you would ever choose the type of person that you did before. When you actually heal, you're no longer attracted to the narcissist. You're no longer a narcissist. They're not even attracted to you. When you really do the next level healing, because you carry yourself with so much self-respect, so much sovereignty, so many boundaries, that is like a repellent for a narcissist in the beginning stages, right? They want you to be addicted to them. They want your self-esteem to be contingent upon what they're feeding you. They want you to become exactly who they want you to be. So when you don't have self-respect, when you don't have an edified sense of identity inside of you, you're weak to that because they are there love bombing you, giving you everything that you think that your heart desires, but it's all an illusion. It's a mirage that you're never going to get to in the desert. You think there's water and an oasis in that desert, but there's not. Narcissist subconsciously teaches you how to love yourself. But until you master that lesson, you will always be a magnet and be preferentially attracted to. We could have a lineup of relationship partners, and who will you choose? When you have those wounds of self-abandonment, of self-worth, you are always going to choose the person that reveals those wounds to you. What that looks like, practically speaking, is that you are going to manifest relationships for yourself that are painful until you speak up, until you step into your full vibration of your authenticity and you scare away the wrong people. You have to scare away the wrong people to do that. But to do that, you have to break the codependent bonds inside of you that are afraid of scaring anybody away because you want to be loved. And if your self-esteem is contingent upon everybody loving you, hey, I've been there. You know what's going to happen? You are going to hold on to all of the vampires in the room because you're going to be like, no, don't go anywhere. Please come back and suck all the blood out of me. Take all of my energy. Take all of my self-esteem. Wash me up, destroy me. And then when you emerge as this beautiful butterfly, You vibrate with this different magnetism that you're no longer attracted to the vampires and the narcissists anymore. You see it coming from a mile away. And when you heal your attachment wounds, you're no longer even attracted to avoidance. It's a perpetual cycle. And then they're no longer attracted to you because very early on, you're trying to talk to them very real instead of keeping silence, right? Making yourself small, trying to be okay, I don't want them to know how much I'm really into them. So I'm just going to play it cool. I'm going to play it cool. Okay. Avoidance will engage with you as you're mirroring them because they believe that you're matching them. And eventually it all comes out. And what you find out is that when it's not actually aligned, then you have led yourself into heartbreak and destruction. Sometimes you're fearful avoidant and they're matching that intensity too, and they're just not being honest about it. Fearful avoidants are complex, but the dismissive avoidance, they're happy to be FWBs for a long, long time. They're really happy with that situationship. And so if you're pretending that you're happy too, then you are hanging on to this hope and this thread. And then you eventually find out whether or not it's shared. Hi, Serena. And so the point is you manifest. You consent to this manifestation. Yes, Britt, you get it. You consent. And when you consent, you're actually creating a world. Whether or not you use spiritual terminology like manifestation, your world is actually based on who you say yes to. So when you say yes to vampires, you will get to a point where you will have all of your blood taken out of you, all of your energy, all of your self-esteem. So your job is to understand what love maps you have. What are your identity modules that were given to you at birth? And then how am I creating from those patterns? This is what the first pillar of my content is about when I talk about attachment styles and shadow love. I have an entire playlist about attachment styles. I go very deep into it, into all different forms to help you understand how these patterns are interlinked. And so I have hundreds of videos on my TikTok channel that deep dive into these love patterns. Because when you understand that, you understand something deeper about yourself, and that gives you the power to change. That gives you options. And so when you really do that healing work at the mind level, because remember, an awakening is about the mind, the body, the heart, the spirit, and consciousness, right? And so different people are going to be at different places. I really focus on the mind, mastery of the mind, and opening the heart, because this was my path to freedom. But other people and other teachers, they focus on the body. They focus on somatic intelligence. So you want to find where you need to start. But when you understand the nature of your mind, this, in my opinion, unlocks the ability for you to hyper manifest as a creator in your world, free of the patterns, free of the oppression, free of the cycles, free of all of the karmic debts that have been tying you into a material form and world that perhaps you don't feel is in alignment with where your heart is calling you. So with that, I want to take a couple of questions. This one is a short one for me. I'm going to log off soon. And Britt, okay, let's talk to you for a second. I can't figure out the stage I attracted. Next, I didn't want anyone and I was so focused on the self. Okay, then I was hit with the soul connection, but something still feels off with it. Okay, so soul connections can come out of nowhere, even when you're not looking for them, and they often do. It's hard to go looking for soul connections. They often come to you because there's coordination. Like if you imagine a soul contract, it's you and somebody else in other parts of the world sometimes that have to come together for this meeting. And the coordination to get you to come together for this meeting can be quite intense and robust. And so there's lots of things happening in the background before you actually meet. So this is why you can find them without looking, because they've been in the making for a while. And if something still feels off with it, what I encourage you to do is listen to your intuition. The body always knows. And the body has an intelligence that sometimes the mind is confused by and isn't paying attention to. So also when we're early in the journey, we don't have a strong connection with our body awareness or our intuition. And we have a tendency, particularly those that grew up in any sort of challenging home environments early on, of discounting our own experience and looking to others to tell us what our truth is. So somebody could be lying to us, for example, in a relationship, and we would feel it, but we're believing their words because we don't know how to trust ourselves. So then we enter into relationships where people betray us. And then we're surprised and blindsided when actually when we tune into the body and tune into self-trust and self-love. This is what I talk about in my True Love Masterminds group. I go through some of these, how to break these karmic cycles, but in chunks and segments. And when you really anchor into self-love and self-trust, you start to keep your own counsel as the beacon of truth. And you start to trust that over anybody else, especially when they're in their shadow or their lower consciousness. And so when you start to really pull yourself out of these patterns, you're still for a while going to be manifesting people who are maybe misaligned or are teaching you a painful lesson, like self-trust or self-love or betrayal, and your intuition is going to tell you. And so, Britt, it seems like for you, your intuition is telling you there's something wrong with the connection. You can have a soul connection that has a karmic component that can destroy you if you're not careful, if you're not listening. And so I'm not saying all soul connections are like that, but some of them deliver some heavy, heavy karmic cycles if you're not aware of what's going on. And so if you are somebody that's working on discernment, self-trust, intuition, then you're going to bring unsavory characters to you in one form or fashion. It could be a relationship partner, it could be a family, somebody that is like a con artist that enters into your life because your goal is actually to transcend out of placing your trust in people who don't deserve it. How do you do that? You have to master self-love. If you need help with that, check the school link. Link is in the bio. Okay, so let's see, who else has comments or questions? I love it, Britt. The last 5 years has been your journey. And thank you all for the gifts. I don't always comment on the gifts and the likes, but it really, I feel so supported and I feel so energized after I do these lives because I know that it resonates with so many people. And when you give your likes and your gifts, it tells the TikTok algorithm that you resonate and that helps it to get shown to more people. So I really appreciate that, even if I don't always point them out. Okay. All right, little cricket. I've been doing this healing for 8 months and it's amazing the power I feel now. Yes, I love that. So when you really start to heal, you reclaim parts of yourself. You reclaim either a disempowerment, you reclaim insecurity, sometimes self-worth, self-love. It's an amazing experience. You really turn into another version of yourself when you really embark on this upgrade. It is an upgrade. And so when you see it like that, you actually welcome the opportunities for change. But unfortunately for many of us, this comes in the form of tension or dissonance or problems in pressure or pain or frustration because we're being asked to do something different. We're being asked to change. Thank you for your gift, Britt. Okay, who else before I jump off? Okay, so Britt, he feels awakened. This is your soul contract, but higher consciousness, but still fights his ego and seeing recently. Excellent. Okay, so this is somebody that is still vacillating. This is normal. When we are early on the spiritual awakening journey and we're in a disintegrated state, meaning we have parts of ourselves that we've rejected or abandoned or we're all ego, then what can happen is that we start to embark on this spiritual awakening journey and we aren't solid in it. We're not anchored in it. And it takes some time to actually anchor into an integrated version of you. And so for a while, it's kind of like you'll see kind of different sides of a person as they are working on this integration. And the truth is you're probably in the same state and you're probably mirroring each other if it's a genuine soul connection. And you're trying to learn from your own disintegrated state. So practically what this looks like is that they could be heavy in their masculine and reject their feminine. So they could be out of touch with their feelings, out of touch with their flow, out of touch with creativity. And they could be kind of like they could be in their heads a lot when they're trying to connect intimately, to put it nicely. And you can feel like there's something more to the connection, but you can't quite get through to them. It's because they're in this conceptualized form of the masculine that, depending on their culture and their entrainment, they believe is desirable. And that's what they're used to and that's what they're practiced. And so when you're trying to connect with them, it's kind of like there's this disconnect between what you're feeling with your heart and who they're presenting themselves as. And this is just normal because this is part of their awakening. What you want to do is, if they are open to it, not everybody is, because sometimes people are a little hyper defensive, especially in new relationships, and they're not open to this level of personal examination. But you want to reveal this to them in a very gentle or, confrontational, constructive way, not a mean way, but I noticed that this connection feels this way, but when I engage with you, let's say in the bedroom, it feels like maybe your mind goes to another place, or it feels like maybe you don't see me. It feels like maybe you see somebody else, or, a fantasy, or this is just one way that it can show up. And so you illuminate this difference between what you're actually feeling and what they're offering. And when they are evolved enough and self-aware enough, they will actually be receptive to this feedback. But if they're very defensive, they're going to struggle with this. So you have to understand who you are working with. But this vacillation effect is very normal for those that are entering into the spiritual awakening journey, but are not yet actually solidified in their new whole self. Okay, Kelly, I've had 2 marriages, both narcissists. I'm now single and focused on myself. Good job. Also building a relationship with God so much that he's communicating with me. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so glad that your spiritual awakening journey has flourished and you have deepened the connection with your source, your God. I feel like there are many different frameworks that people come to my channel with, and I like to respect everybody's framework. And so I think that that's absolutely beautiful. And if you have a history of choosing narcissist, then you definitely want to do that personal work like you're doing to understand why. What inside of you needs to be strengthened so you are not preferentially marrying the person that's going to bring you a nightmare experience. Being with a narcissist is a devastating experience. The longer you go with them, the worse it is, right? If you know, you know. And so you want to understand, how do I see that in the beginning? And how do I protect myself from choosing somebody like that by understanding what it is that I'm seeking from them? I'm reminded of the masterclasses that I have in my True Love Masterminds group. It might be a good match for you. You can learn at your own pace, monthly exclusive videos that are released there, and share your journey in our private forum and receive advice from me. The group is still pretty small and intimate right now, which means that you have a lot of personal attention from me should you desire it. Some people just watch the content and work on their own and work through the exercises and like the anonymity, and others like to engage. So it's completely up to you. That's my school group, and the link for that is in the bio. All right, one more and then I have to go. Okay, so Kelly, I'm still going to do one more, but this is a follow-up to you. He's now revealed to me, my kingdom spouse or your divine spouse. I love that. That's my words. I'm not inviting you to say it the way I do. I like your kingdom spouse. I haven't seen that before. That's your conceptualization. It's beautiful. But I believe he's avoidant. So there's going to be a theme for you in narcissist and avoidance. Not all narcissists are avoidant and not all avoidants are narcissists. But there's a theme here for you to figure out why you are attracted to unavailable love in one form or the other, in narcissist and avoidant. It sounds like you've done enough personal work that you're moving away from the narcissist, and now you're moving into the avoidant love, which is still a painful love, but not as painful as a pure narcissist, unless they are also a narcissist. And then that's like double whammy. Okay. Oh, thank you, Britt. I appreciate that. Okay, who else? One more before I go. Dun dun. Okay, Jay Goody. I'm in a genuine twin flame connection and he came back, but I'm not happy. I need more information to understand why you're not happy. Let me see if you had any follow-up. Stardust, I was wondering how you release negative, intrusive, scary, unwanted thoughts. You have to have boundaries. And if you're under spiritual attack and spiritual warfare, this is its own rite of passage. You have to master your mind. You have to master boundaries. And it's intense. I've been through it. It is not a joke, but you need to block out any negative interferences that you don't agree with and you don't consent with. And the way you do that is by disengaging and by using the force of your power, your authority, your dominion, in your mind, and creating a different landscape and not allowing that. And so you might be working on personal power and personal boundaries. And so Jay Goody, I was happier before, now I feel a void. So it sounds like to me that you are happy that your twin has come back, but something still isn't sitting right with you. And it could be that there's some energetic dynamic that has subtly shifted. It could be that maybe they're back, but they're not fully back. I'd have to really understand like the dynamic, but to me, that's telling that your soul is telling you that something's off. And you may not know what's off about it, but I encourage you to actually take some space to reflect, to journal, to go deep into your meditation, your guides, your guidance, if you have support like that in your spiritual awakening journey, and to understand why you're feeling the way that you're feeling and identify where the gap is, because there's a gap. And also, just because somebody is present with you doesn't mean that they're actually fully with you. So you want to be sure that the manner in which your twin flame has come back is actually genuine and is actually above board and in alignment or integrity. Because if it's not, it's going to feel amiss. Like if they are, and I don't know your situation, but common one is that they haven't really let go of a karmic, even though they've said they've let go. But your soul is going to feel that, even if your mind doesn't know it. If they still have any attachments to somebody else, it's going to impair the energetics of the union. It's not going to feel right. And so when that happens, that is going to create a sense of unease, and like you can't really lean into the connection. And you can't really feel safe in the connection because you're not safe energetically. And you're saying it's like he's forcing himself, not trying to spend time with me. Don't know what that says about me. Okay, so you'd be a good candidate for one-on-one coaching. And because we would have to really unpack this, because what I'm seeing here is that, yes, you do need to understand why you are attributing his behavior to your self-worth. So you are equating in my mind that he's not trying to spend time with you, and therefore something might be wrong with you. And it seems like when we have a low sense of internal validation, internal validation is lacking. We need somebody's expression of love to make us feel like we're loved. That's not actually secure attachment, by the way. And I don't know what your attachment style is. I'm not asking, but when we have an insecure attachment style, we don't trust the love even when it's being given to us. And even when it's somebody securely attached and they're, reassuring us, there's something in us that we don't actually accept it, because there is a toxic love map that we're working through. And so you're saying he feels forced. That to me says that there's an undercurrent of your relationship dynamic, that maybe you're the one that is contributing to this forced feeling and he's reacting to that. But this is why I say we really have to unpack it, because in an hour asynchronous voice note coaching and my one-on-ones, we go into all of this. Like I get like the nitty gritty details. First this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And then I give you my perspective, and then I help you unpack and untangle what's actually happening. But you need to like really go deep into what's breaking down to understand why your twin flame connection isn't lining up in the way that feels right for your soul. And there could be numerous possibilities for that. Okay. So with that, thank you, everybody. I will be back for another live. Thank you for your gifts. I'll probably be back tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then Friday. I pop in random times during the day. So if you catch me, you catch me. I really thank you. I appreciate you so very much. And feel free to check out my Spotify playlist, Awakening with Dr. C. That's free for you. The link is at the end of the Stand Store. The link is in the bio at the very end. And also my EC by Dr. C for those that are interested in advanced quantum teachings and meditations delivered to your inbox, $10 a month. I think it's a steal. Gives you right of first refusal to any in-person or live events that I'm going to be having in the future. There's none yet. It's just the start of this community. It's brand new, like literally in like month 1.5 of it. So I'd love for you to join in at the ground level to be part of the leading line of Next Level Human. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much. I will see you next time. Besitos.